All right, welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks Radio. I'm Jim Hobbs, and below or to my left or right, somewhere on the screen is my carnivore co-host, Mr. Brian Damage Forsythe of the band Kix and Rhino Bucket. And we have a returning guest, and I have my utmost respect for her because she's the owner of a bakery, Kristen Cups Bakery. So she's literally surrounded by the enemy all day, every day, yet she's able to withstand the temptations. So welcome back to the show, Kristen Durham from Alabama. Welcome back, Kristen.
Thank you for having me again. I love it. I love spending time with you all.
Awesome. Before we get started into talking about foods and recipes and your journey to keto carnivore, were you biting your nails this past weekend with the Auburn, Alabama game?
It was a good game. It was a good game. I was like, well, let me go back to say that Alabama hasn't been doing that well the past couple of games. You're just like, what's going on? But this game, I was like, oh. But it's the first time in history the Iron Bowl has ever gone into overtime. But then overtime.
Yes.
Crazy.
It was crazy. I watched it all afternoon. It took up my whole Saturday.
Oh my gosh. But that's in the pure style of Alabama, is that they pull it together at the end. That's like second half of the game is when they get their momentum going and like come back to life. But it was overtime, and it was good. It was a nail biter. You could hear the people all in the neighborhood and everything. It was nice.
I was going to say, do you guys have football parties there in Alabama? Your neighbors get together or your family get together? And do you guys watch football as a group?
Yeah, people do sometimes, but around Thanksgiving, it's always the Saturday after Thanksgiving. People are always traveling. So we just kind of hung out here and did Christmas decorations, and I did like some more cooking. So it was kind of low key. But I was like texting all my friends, and I'm about to have a heart attack.
Yeah, so, I could hear all the crying from my Alabama friends up until that amazing last second or last minute touchdown pass. But anyway, well, I'm glad you guys were able to recover. You were able to celebrate. So let's get to. You were sending me recipes last night that you were cooking for your father and your daughter, the low carb cheeseburger casserole. Yes. Is that right? If I remember correctly?
Yes, I did.
So what goes into So what goes into that?
The cheeseburger casserole was like 2 pounds of ground beef. It called for just half an onion, but I always do a whole onion. You brown it together. Then in another bowl, you have 8 eggs, 1 full cup of cream, a small container of tomato paste, and you just like mix it all up really good with some cheddar cheese. Then after the beef is drained and everything, you mix it all together, then sprinkle cheese on top. I cannot do dairy, but it looked really good and they loved it. My dad was like, can I please take the rest home? And I want to take some to a friend. I was like, okay. So he took it out of the house. My daughter loved it too. But it literally only took like 10 minutes.
Wow.
And they both loved it. It was so nice and easy.
Now I take it that neither one of them are living the keto or carnivore lifestyle, but they love the dish that you serve them. Correct.
I'm trying to push it on them, like to eat more keto just for obviously health reasons. But when I told him, he's like, okay, but he still loved it. They do not eat that lifestyle on a regular basis, but found it delicious.
Now, I don't think we've addressed this subject before, but you were sharing with me last night that you could not partake in the low carb cheeseburger casserole recipe because keto has led you to carnivore, and listening to your body is what you do. So can you kind of tell everybody about that journey and what's led you to be full-fledged carnivore like my co-host?
Yes. Well, I started at the very beginning with Whole30, like to lose weight and just to see. It was like a group of women. It's like, oh, let's try this. And within a week of eliminating everything, I think I shared before that I felt totally different because there's no dairy, no sugar, no grains. Just so very similar to keto, but you're not allowed to have dairy. But let me go back. I used to have a lung disease called plastic bronchitis, and they never really realized what caused it. And I was very sick, hospitalized with pneumonia all the time. And through the process of changing my eating and eliminating dairy, I realized real quick that dairy was the trigger for my lung. And it just, plastic bronchitis, your lung fills up with a fluid and it solidifies and it totally cuts off your oxygen supply. Mine, thank God, was just in one lung, and a lot of people pass away from it because it's in both lungs.
So it's like pneumonia, it turns into pneumonia. I mean, basically you're just not able to breathe. Your lungs fill up with mucus,
right?
Or
and then the only way to get the plug out is because it makes like a bronchial cast. Like what you end up, it's really disgusting. And you end up like coughing out this cast. It's like a perfect cast of your bronchial tubes, your airway.
Wow.
But long story short, I found that dairy triggered mine, and especially goat cheese. Like I would instantly be in the hospital. So I cut out the dairy. And then every now and again, when I started the keto and everything, I would try it every now and again and couldn't do it.
Can I ask you a question, Kristen? When you were under the care of a doctor at the hospital to treat this, are they the ones that said for you to go keto carnivore?
No.
Okay.
No.
What advice were they giving you? What treatment were they giving you for this?
They were stumped. They didn't know what was, it's like one of these things that they don't know. And I remember vividly my brother, I was talking to him. I was like, whenever I eat goat cheese, that's like when it's really bad. He goes, because you're eating mucus. You're eating mucus from another mammal, and it's going to cause you to get sick. He goes, and it triggers, that's what it triggers. And once it was totally eliminated, knock on wood, thank God, nothing, it has not come back.
Wow.
It was, it was so bad, I had to spend 6 weeks at Colorado at National Jewish Hospital, them trying to diagnose it and figure out what was going on.
Wow. I have never heard of that diagnosis or that disease. Is that prevalent, or is that something that's rare?
It's rare, and it mostly affects children. It mostly affects children. It's horrible. It's awful. It is awful because when it was solidified and you couldn't breathe, you're scared because you don't know how you're going to get that out, but you end up going through a panic and it dislodges and you can breathe again.
Wow.
But little kids, that's when I was very obese. I was weighing 315 pounds. They had me on so much steroids, trying to calm the lung down. And I think then with my weight being so big, I'd have to thrust my body onto the end of a couch trying to get it out.
Right.
But now, if it ever came back now, being the size that I am, I don't know what I'm going to do. Don't know what I would do if it ever came back, but it's not going to, because I'm healthy and my body is not inflamed anymore, and I'm never going back.
What was the heaviest, just so everybody knows your background, what was the heaviest that you weighed?
Heaviest ever was 315 pounds. When I started this journey, I was 290, and now I'm 112. Wow.
Congratulations. I mean, I know you've gone through a lot to lead you to this place, but you're at this place now, and
I love it.
That's awesome. What was some of the biggest challenges you had in going keto from the beginning? Because obviously you had a lot of issues you were dealing with, and obviously you were a prisoner to sugar like most people are in America.
Right.
So how did you wean yourself off of that drug?
Oh gosh, it's just, I don't think that like, it's a struggle. It's always a struggle. I saw a quote yesterday on somebody posted on Instagram that once you forget about where you came from, then that is where your recovery could possibly end. That you always have to be mindful of what the past was like.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest struggle for me was the pressure from other people. Because I knew I felt like $1,000,000. I knew I felt so much better. Yes, I want it, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But I felt like I was always having to justify myself. Like, oh yeah, you can have a bite. You can have like just a sip. Oh, just a sip of hot chocolate, you'll be okay. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'll feel like doo-doo, but then that'll trigger that addiction to come back and I won't be able to stop. Like I know I'm a recovering food addict and I still have tendencies of an addict. Like I could sit here and talk about food all day and I love just hang out with people in their kitchen while they're cooking. And even when I'm not hungry, like I might grab some pork skins just to eat. I don't do it that often, but then I could eat the whole bag.
I can relate to that.
That's just my nature. I love the crunch. I love to chew. But yeah, the hard thing was people.
Yeah, you saying to never forget where you came from and what you were dealing with when you were eating that lifestyle. You know, Brian, if you don't mind sharing, you have a great coping mechanism that you utilize and playing it out if you decide to go ahead and take a bite of that carrot cake or so.
Right. Well, it's I'm a recovering drug addict, alcoholic, and that whole thing about not forgetting like where I came from. I was it was funny because I was just talking about this, I think yesterday, to somebody. I keep it in the forefront of my mind, those last few days when I finally, like I can't forget about the horror and not only just the experience, but the what my mind was going through, and it's like I have to apply that to everything in my life, including food, because it's the same thing, like you were just saying. People say that it's like, oh, one bite's not going to hurt you, but yes, it will. It's just like taking one drink of alcohol. It just sends you right back into it. And so, like what Jim is referring to is this analogy of playing the tape all the way through. Like you think, okay, if I take that one bite, what's that going to lead to? And I have to take that tape all the way through. Like that's going to make it so like the next time an opportunity comes up, it's going to be even easier to give into it, and so on until I'm just back into it full force. So that's the way I have to look at it.
It's the truth. It's because you know what will come.
Yes.
If you do backslip at all, like I know without a shadow of a doubt what'll happen if I backslip or take that one bite.
Yeah, and it's all about, well, for me, it's just about the flavor of it in my mouth. That's all I'm wanting, and it's not worth the consequences. The
right, exactly. Yeah.
Consequences.
So, Kristen, it's amazing to me because this is an addiction. I mean, sugar should be designated as a drug and a highly addictive drug at that, because I look at how you're looking now compared to the picture you sent me a long time ago in regards to your heaviest weight that you were carrying around. And it's amazing to me that the people who surround you are not just flocking to your door and at your feet going, how have you done what you've done? And how do you look so good now compared to what but they don't, because they really are trying to pull you back like the old blue crabs in a bushel basket. And the crabs are trying to get out. They grab them and try to pull down. No, you're not the one that's going to escape. Mm-hmm. And these so-called, I mean, they are friends and family, these loved ones, do exactly what you say. Oh, it's not going to hurt you. You can have one slice of birthday cake and celebrate my day with me, or have you can have cocoa this one time. Come on, it's snowing outside. Enjoy this. but it's because they are addictive. Are an addict to that sugar, and they don't want to see the mirror, which is you. They want you to contribute to their addiction by partaking in that addiction. And so, or else we would be coming to you going, what have you done? I mean, I want to do what you're doing, because it's amazing the turnaround, the transformation that's taken place.
Yeah, it's just, it's true. I have a couple of people in my life that are like really supportive and ask me like, how you doing today? But then others are like I said before, oh, you can do it. And what are you going to have for Thanksgiving? You're going to eat what your family made. I'm like, no, I'm not. I can't. I just can't. And they just can't understand it. And I guess that those of us that have changed our habits and our way of thinking, way of life, can understand it. And when we understand each other and where we came from and where we're going and like what our future holds, they're going to be supportive, and those people are going to be supportive of us and help us through it.
What can you walk us through? Like, how do you handle a family gathering for Thanksgiving? Like, how do you handle all that food on the table and to get through a day where temptation is all around you?
Yeah, this year, it was at my brother's house, him and his wife hosted, and they sent out, like on the iPhone, you know how you have the notes? Mm-hmm. They made a group note thing that everybody in the family was supposed to bring something. So I knew everything that was coming. And of course, there was nothing that I could have. And so I was like, okay. So I said I was going to do appetizers. And one thing I made was salmon with cucumbers. And then I did shrimp and chicken liver pate. And what else did I do? Oh, I did a couple of other things, but just because I like to make it, I couldn't eat it. But that's how I handled it. But it was really nice the night before Thanksgiving, after I've already made everything and prepared everything, my brother sent me a text. He said, I got to go back. I asked him, the brine that you're putting the turkey in, does it contain sugar? And he was like, well, yeah. I'm like, okay. Just want to make sure so I know if I can have the turkey or not. He was smoking his turkey. And the night before Thanksgiving, he sent me a text, hey, just wanted to let you know that the turkey did not contain any sugar. And I had already bought everything. I was like, oh my gosh, on one point, like on one side of my brain, I was thinking, oh, now I know. Spent all this money and prepared all this when there was going to be something I could eat. But then on the other hand, I almost wanted to cry because he took the time out to change. Like, I come from a family of chefs. He had a restaurant and just a very good cook. And I was like, wow, it meant a lot to me that he sacrificed the flavor of his turkey so I could have something to eat. Like when 100% of the time, his brine would contain a little bit of sugar. So what I do, I just bring my own food. And there was the family that was, all of our family that was there knew, like they know the deal with me. But they had a couple of friends that were there that did not know. And just the looks, I was anxious going into it because I knew there's going to be people there that didn't know me and I didn't want to be questioned or anything. Like, why aren't you having this? Why'd you make all this stuff? And I got a couple of looks and they kept looking at my plate and looking at me and, well, aren't you going to have this? I'm like, no, but nobody was rude or anything. It was just knowing that my lifestyle is different and people that don't know me are not used to it. So I had to kind of give myself a little pep talk before going over there. But I just had to bring my own stuff. And for Christmas dinner, a note started being shared yesterday. And I'm going to make my own roast chicken to take over there. So
Well, good
It
for
was
you.
still fun and games.
Well, good for you. Thanks for sharing that. Brian, what did you guys do? Did you go up and spend Thanksgiving with your sister and mom and brother?
Yeah. Well, not my brother, but my brother-in-law. But yeah, my sister's family and my mother was there, and yeah, they had the whole turkey and all that stuff, and I ate a ribeye, and did I even have an egg with that? I don't even think I ate an egg. I think it was just a ribeye.
Now, do you have to go out there and shop for it yourself when you get there? Like, I go find myself a ribeye, or you keep a spare ribeye in the fridge there?
No, actually, my sister was out shopping, and she texted me and she goes, "You want me to pick you up a ribeye?" And I go, "Yeah, that'd be great." So she picked one out, and it was great. They're kind of used to me there, though. I don't have to worry. But even though, you know, they're still concerned about my health. They think they don't really believe that the way I'm eating is healthy, which I don't know. Because there's so many of those myths that are still ingrained in people. They just can't get over it.
The programming is strong from the establishment, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, even like we did that show on Black Friday, and what did we do? Oh, we had to order out from a nearby restaurant, and of course I got a ribeye there too. And then one of the road crew guys was commenting about my arteries and all that stuff, and I'm going, no, I eat this way to prevent all that from happening. And he's like, yeah, all right, yeah, right. And I was like, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, people believe fat causes you to be fat, and that it's just
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing that myth to most people is not a myth but a fact, and it's just nothing more than a lie that's been perpetrated over the years to get you to buy into the low fat or alternatives. Pull the skin off your chicken, cut the fat off your meat. It's amazing to me how that lie is so ingrained in everybody's mind here at least in the United States.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you hear people saying they're going to go on a diet or they're going to lose weight, you always hear them stocking up on, well, I'm drinking skim milk, no fat yogurt, no fat ice cream, all these things that I'm cooking with, vegetable oil or seed oil, or it's just amazing to me what they turn to, because they've been programmed that what they're choosing is in their best interest for health. And the reality of it is it's really a speed bump that's going to cause them from achieving what they have the ability to achieve by knowing the right way to eat. And I won't say the right way. It sounds like I'm being judgmental. Eating a way that your body is going to respond and go, this is what I've been missing. So I think everybody who goes keto, or especially carnivore, your body does react and sends you that signal of energy and light that, yes, this is what we were meant to do. And it just, it takes time. Like, I think we had a guest on last week or a couple of weeks ago or I saw something recently about, nothing against vegans or vegetarians, but they come from that standpoint from cruelty to animals, and I get that. I totally do get that. But the reality of it is everything has life, and so whether you're snuffing the life out of a bunch of broccoli or asparagus, you're still terminating something that has energy, that's life. And I think if we would look at it the right way, which is by honoring that food, whether it's meat or vegetable, that energy, we get a chance to let it work through us and for us, as opposed to being against it. Like you, Kristen, you've gone to medical professionals. You spent 6 weeks with them in a hospital, but it was your body that you listened to, and even listened to it, because keto is not the answer, the answer for everybody either. There's issues that we all go through, even, going to a keto lifestyle. Like you said, you can't have dairy. And Brian's the same way. Brian Brian, and be honest with you, which I haven't listened. You guys are much further along listening to your body than I am at times, because I just love heavy cream in my coffee, which I'm enjoying right now. And sometimes that does cause me issues, and I know it causes issues for my wife Peggy. And we're better off listening to your bodies. That's what we need to be listening to. Yeah. Like Brian, if Brian listened to everybody that came up to him and saying, I'm really concerned about you, Brian would have gone back to the way the world wants him to eat years ago. But the fact that his body, he knows what his body is telling him, he goes with his body regardless of what the medical profession or people who surround him, who care for him, tell him to do. And once you get to that place, it's a great place. And the way you guys cope with being in that place, by never forgetting how you got to that place and what you came through and came from to get there, I hope encourages other people who haven't taken that first step yet to go take that step.
All right, like we do every week, I want to introduce Brian Schenker with his MeatTribe meat deals of the week.
Hey everybody, how are you doing?
Good.
Awesome. All right. First up, we've got a couple of deals from Carnes. Well, they've got several more deals, but these are the best ones, in my opinion. These deals run through December 6th. They've got some choice grade boneless whole New York strips for $5.99 a pound. So that's going to be probably a big chunk of meat. About I can't even do it in my screen, bigger than this. And if you don't feel like cutting them down yourself, you can get the same choice grade boneless New York strip steaks cut by them in singles, I guess it is, for $9.99 per pound. Next up, we've got a couple of deals from Food Lion. They run through December 7th. They've got some choice grade boneless chuck roast at $3.99 a pound. I haven't seen the chuck roast that low for quite a while. Have you, Jim?
No, I have not.
So I'm going to head out there and probably grab a couple of those at least. And hopefully I'll try to remember to see if my Food Lion has a saw to be able to cut bone-in steaks to preference. And I'll let you know next week. And of course, they've also got some choice grade boneless New York strip steaks for $9.99 a pound. Aldi's got a couple of deals. They run through December 7th. They've got some boneless. This is going to be a mouthful. Hang in there with me. Simply Nature Fresh 100% organic grass-fed beef stew meat. How do you like that?
That's a mouthful.
That's $6.99 a pound. And they've also got some choice grade boneless Butcher Van Gourmet fresh seasoned chuck roast at $5.99 a pound. So it's already seasoned for you. So it's probably going to have a lot of bad seasoning.
Like sugar.
Right, Brian? A lot of spices or other flavors that could be anything.
Sugar.
But in any case, you could get it if you're at Aldi and you're not feeling up to seasoning it yourself. They've got something there for you. Harris Teeter. Of course, they've had those bone-in prime rib roasts and steaks the last couple of weeks. This week, their deals run through the 7th, and they've got porterhouse and T-bone steaks. So they've got their rancher grade value pack at $7.99 a pound, the small pack at $8.49 a pound, and then if you want to bump it up in USDA grade to choice, you can pay $9.99 a pound. Sorry, guess I'm losing my voice here a little bit. And finally, we've got a couple of deals from Kroger. They also run through the 7th. They've got some choice grade boneless chuck roast at $4.99 a pound. So we're seeing $3.99 a pound, $5.99 a pound, and $4.99 a pound for chuck roast at various different stores. Food Lion being the cheapest at $3.99 a pound, but over at Kroger, $4.99 a pound. And they've also got some choice grade boneless strip steaks in a family pack for $8.99 a pound.
Yeah, I was just there last night. I saw that.
Oh, cool. But you didn't buy them, right?
Nope, I got the ribeye.
How much was the ribeye? Did you pay attention?
$14.99 a pound.
Okay. Okay. So that's a little bit better than Sam's Club, but not too bad.
It was supposedly
So
on sale.
yeah. So I'm sure maybe you guys are or are not, but with the leftover turkey carcass and bones, I decided I was gonna try to make my first batch of bone broth. So I threw everything in the freezer. So I haven't done it yet, but they haven't been frozen for very long. I'm gonna go back and review your video, Brian, on how to make bone broth, but I also looked up a couple of videos on YouTube. So have any of you guys made bone broth with the turkey bones before?
We have.
Yeah.
Actually, we usually make, well, let me step back. We do it with chicken bones and we do it with, of course, the meat bones. Turkey, we typically just throw the whole carcass in and we make turkey soup that turkey soup that lasts us for a week.
Yeah, the whole carcass is where the way you want to go, because you want all that cartilage and all that stuff.
Yeah, I saved that. I've got the drum legs, drum bones and the wing bones. I also saved all the drippings from when the turkey was being cooked. Should I throw that in there as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Love the flavor.
Okay. And then I'm new to the bone broth thing. So what do you guys do with it? You just drink it or you use it in stuff? What are you doing with it?
Yeah, you could do both. My bone broth, I just drink it like,
Okay.
in a mug in the morning, or you can use it for soup or even to add to stuff, to cook stuff in. But what was I going to say about it? Yeah, my thing on my my video. Sorry, it's early. My my video, I cook my bone broth like almost 2 days.
Okay.
You don't have to do that with like poultry. You could probably well, Jim, in that book, have you read any of those? Have you gotten very far in that book about the guts? That she talks about, instead of bone broth, she talks about meat broth. It's actually
This one right here.
yeah. She explains the bone broth thing pretty well in there. And
I have not. But go ahead.
yeah, so she was talking about the poultry carcasses, like the chicken and turkey, and how you just throw that whole thing in there, and you don't have to cook it as long because it's poultry. So I don't know. You may want to research the length of time.
Okay. Yeah, I pulled some videos on YouTube for that. And now storing it. How do you store it, and for how, and like, does it have to be frozen?
Well, I do it. It'll last probably. They say a week in the refrigerator, but I put it in those mason jars, and you can freeze it in that. Just stick those
Okay.
in. The freezer.
Well, Peggy and I typically can the broth, so we put it in mason jars so it's vacuum sealed. We can it, and so it just stays in our garage on the shelf, and it lasts us a year. I mean, we just use it whenever we need it. But we utilize the bone broth for whether we want to add to make an au jus from prime rib, or we're making soup. We'll definitely add it. Or I'll sometimes, if I've gone through a 72-hour fast, the first thing I'll start is just pour like a cup like Brian does into my coffee mug and just warm it up and have it. And drink it like a cup of coffee, because it's amazing when I'm cleaned out and I drink that. It's like my intestinal tract is just rejoicing with those nutrients. It like it comes alive. It makes no sense. I mean, it's how am I trying to explain it? But inside of you will experience a party.
Well, that's what the woman that wrote that book talks about. That's the most healing thing you can do for your guts. So it's very
Okay, cool.
Kristen, let's ask Kristen. Kristen, do you do bone broth, or is that something you're not able to have?
No, I can do it. I've done it a couple of times, but what I was going to say I like to do is when you have the carcass, I like to roast the bones and the cartilage and everything a little bit in the oven, because that helps like activate and make the flavor of the broth so much richer.
Okay.
I love doing that. Totally changes the flavor of the broth.
How long do you roast it and at what temperature?
At 350 till it gets like a good brown. Like you can tell like just by the smell and the sight, like, ooh, that looks good. That's
Okay,
what
cool.
I don't really do recipes that much, but I just like eye it and see, and then I'll put it in the water and let it simmer and simmer and simmer.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thanks for those tips. I'll let you know next week how it turns out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Please do. We'll have a great week, and we will see you next Friday there, Mr. Schenker.
Sounds good. Take care, everybody.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye.
It's so worth it. Can we talk coffee for a second?
Sure.
Okay. Have y'all heard about putting the egg in coffee for people trying to get like off of cream like yourself?
I have not, but you got Brian's attention for sure. He puts egg on everything.
Oh my. Okay. So what you do is you get like a milk frother, and in your coffee mug, you put like a fresh egg. And then you put a little bit of coffee in there, and then you start frothing it with the frother and the coffee. And then you gradually add coffee, and then it's so creamy. I was like gagging when somebody was telling me about it. I was like, there's no way. And they said, "Try me." Have you tried it, Brian?
Yes, I've done that. I'll make my regular bulletproof coffee with the butter, and I'll just crack an egg. Like if I have somewhere to go and I know I'm not going to be able to eat till like, later in the day, I'll just crack an egg in my coffee and blend it. I mean, I haven't done it in a while, but I've done it, and it like makes that, it's so frothy. It's almost like the froth is
It's so good.
yeah.
Delicious. Like, oh my gosh. I think I'm getting addicted to it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's morning. I get to have that coffee.
So is it like a custard? I mean, is it like a meringue that it whips up inside your coffee?
Kind of on the top, but the whole coffee itself is just frothy.
Yeah.
Like you get like the creaminess, but it's just frothy, and it keeps you full. That one egg, well, for me, it'll keep me full for hours.
Yeah, it's just like even just putting the butter in makes a nice froth, but that just enhances it and makes it even better.
And a little bit of Redmond salt on it. Oh my gosh. It's so good.
It is.
The cinnamon too. Oh yeah.
I have not tried it with a duck egg yet, but I'd like to.
I want to try a duck egg. I've never had a duck egg.
Oh, they're so good.
Really? Are they better than like farm fresh chicken eggs?
Yeah, the yolks. It's the yolk. They're thicker and creamier. So I'm just imagining what that would be like in a coffee.
Yum.
If you want to make a whole pot of coffee at once using your method, Kristen, you have to get one of Billy Wills's ostrich eggs, and that should
Holy
take care
cow!
of it.
I cannot.
What you say, Brian?
That would be a little much.
We had a party like shared amongst friends, shared amongst each other.
Have you ever had an ostrich egg, Kristen?
No.
They are huge. I mean, I busted one up on the griddle, my grill stone. It covered the whole. I mean, it's like you can't believe. It's like the egg just keeps growing as you're breaking it out of the big green shell.
How big is the yolk? Just the yolk.
It's huge. They say it's equivalent to, I think, 8 to 10 eggs.
Oh my word! Wow.
Yeah, you don't really realize how big it is until you bust it open. That yolk is so round, and it's like sitting that high up, just the yolk, as opposed to a chicken yolk.
Oh my God.
It's good.
Oh, I bet.
It's good. Well, what are you? How's business going for you? And if someone who's watching this is still addicted to sugar, how can they get your products? How can they get your baked goods there at Kristen Cups? How can they get a hold of you?
I'm on Facebook. It's Kristen's Cups, and like Kristen's Cups Cocoa Bombs on Facebook, and I also have a Square website. It's kristencups.square.com, something like that. But it's Cups is with a KUPS, and you can Google it. It'll be the first thing that comes up.
Now, people can order cookies anywhere in the country. You ship out. Do you ship out yet or no?
Yes.
All right. Well, we will put your website and your address in the show notes. So if you're watching this, just click on the show notes and click on Kristen's web page or web site, and feel free to order cookies for those that you know who are sugar addicts.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Brian, you got any more questions for Kristen?
Oh, not really.
Okay.
I mean, covered everything.
Well, Kristen, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day and schedule and joining us. And
Absolutely.
if we don't talk to you before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we
Well,
will.
same to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And same to your family. And we'll look forward to having you back on next year.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Okay, bye.
All right. Wow. That's it's amazing everybody's journey in this and the journey that you go through, the trials and tribulations that you go through to get to where you are in your lifestyle. I mean, yours is, while they're all just similar, they're also very unique to everybody, but there's a lot of similarities in that journey.
Yeah, and everybody's journey is different, and everybody's body is different, and so what works for one person may not work for another, and usually doesn't. You have to sort of tweak your own thing, and yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. As a matter of fact, just before we started to record, and if everybody's wondering why Jim is so red, Jim does his sauna and usually Wim Hof breathing in the morning. This morning I got out of the sauna, it was 10 till 10, and I forgot that we were recording earlier today. So I literally had to rush, put the water on, rushed here. And so I'm still red from being in a 140 degree sauna for 30 minutes. Now, typically I'll go straight into my cold water submersion for about 15 minutes and do my Wim Hof breathing. But since I did not have time to do that this morning, I'll have to do that later on. So typically I'm not flush red like I am right now, but I'm okay, everybody.
It's not noticeable, but
yeah. But Brian, you guys, let's talk about health and how a good friend of yours, matter of fact, the drummer of Kix, Jimmy Chocolate, returned back to the stage last Friday for your Club XL live concert, and it was great to see him back behind his drums and on his throne. So how did everything go, and how's he feeling?
he's looking great, and he says he's feeling much better. I mean, he wore like a heart monitor. It was like this thing that goes around his chest, and then he had his phone with his app mounted right there next to his drum, so he could watch it while he was playing, and he did great. I mean, not only did he it was so good to have him back. I mean, we had the fill-in drummers, and they did a great job and all that, but it was not Jimmy. And I mean, somebody can play the exact same beat, and it just doesn't feel the same. So to have him back was such a breath of fresh air. But we were all kind of concerned about him too. We were like, like Bob had a mic set up because everybody's was having to cover the backing vocals because Jimmy wasn't there. He does like most of them. So Jimmy just said, well, maybe, keep your mic for this show, because he said that's the one thing that caused his heart rate and his blood pressure to go up was singing. Like when he's playing, he can sort of handle that, but when he throws the singing in at the same time, it's a lot harder. Then at the end of the night, we found out that he ended up singing most of it anyway, because it's just a habit. But here's the funny thing, though, that most people don't hear, like the behind the scenes stuff. But I'm standing there in front of his drums, facing him, like getting ready to do blow my fuse, and Steve's out there talking, and Mark and Jimmy calls Mark Schenker over to the side there, and he points at his heart monitor thing, and he goes, look, I think I died a couple times. He didn't have any problems. There was no worries. Like, you know, just according to his little
Heart
app, you know, I guess it went up into the red a few times, but yeah, he did great. So
yeah, the videos that was shared and I got a chance to listen to, you're absolutely right. You know, the drummers that have filled in so admirably for Jimmy, they didn't play anything wrong, but that energy or that's the way he strikes the drums and how it sounds differently than anybody else does. So when you hear it, you go, that's the sound that everybody's used to from Kix, and you realize just how important and what a vital role he plays in having Kix sound like Kix.
Yeah, like I said before, you know, I refer to him as the engine. He's the engine of the band, you know.
Right. Well, was it a sold out show, Brian?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. It was pretty full though. If it wasn't, it was still packed.
Now, when's your next gig? I know you guys got Kixmas coming up at the Fire Hall, but was that your next one, or what are you guys playing this week?
No, we don't have anything this weekend. Next weekend we're in Wisconsin. We're doing some radio celebration thing for some radio station.
Bring back some good cheese.
Some cheese curds.
Yeah, there you go.
Those are big up there.
Have you had those before? Have you tried those up there?
Yeah, I've had them. It's just lumps of cheese.
Well, awesome. Well, I think this is a good time for us to kind of open this up to our keto family. Brian is going to be going on an extended tour, a European tour with Rhino Bucket for about 6 weeks, give or take. And then he's got the Monster of Rock cruise that a lot of you all are going to be attending as well. So the question to everybody out there, would you guys be okay? We just took a hiatus for 6 weeks, or would you guys like to see best of edited, or you'd like to see just some special guests and just a limited show during that time, or we'd like me just to repackage some of the older shows and throw those out there so you got something to watch during those 6 weeks. So I'm going to throw that out to everybody. Just feel free to comment on this video and let us know your thoughts, or send us an email to ketorocks22@gmail.com. And the other thing that we're doing this year that Brian probably doesn't even know we're doing is we got Christmas ornaments, unique. Each one's going to be unique, but I'm going to hold one of them up, but there they are. And so, you know, it depends. This one here has got the group that met up in the summer for the Keto Rocks retreat. I know a lot of you have already messaged me. That's all you have to do is just message me or send an email. Let me know how many, or let us know how many you want and your mailing address, and we'll get those out to you. They're limited. We don't have probably more than, I'm going to say 50. But feel free to once those 50 are gone, they're gone. But it'll be a great keepsake for you all. It does have Brian and I with our Santa hats on. So, and then each one of them will have a special saying on the back. You'll have, you know, some of the sayings that you're used to. Eat your meat, but we'll have some other creative quotes on the back as well. So feel free to order those. Brian, I'll be delivering yours in December to you and Shannon, so you guys will get one when I see you all in Nashville.
Okay.
So, but we'll let everybody dictate to us what they would like to have during the 6 weeks when Brian's out there eating eating his way through Europe.
That's basically what I'll be doing.
Under the skies of playing in a band, but he's really is eating his way through Europe. Like, oh, what can I get at this next stop here? But what do you like to eat when you're over there, Brian? What do they have good ribeyes over there?
You know, this is my first trip as a carnivore. Before the last, I mean, it was almost 4 years ago when we went. and I was not eating meat yet. So, yeah, I missed out on a bunch of stuff. In fact, there's this one venue that we would play. I think it was Ravensburg, Germany. I think that's the name of the town. And the right next door to the venue was it was an old, like, it's just this pub that it's nothing but meat. And I remember we'd go over there after sound check every year. It was us and the opening band, and we'd sit at this big long table, and everybody would order all this meat, and I'd be sitting there like, what can I get? And
Oh my. So you got to go right that wrong.
yeah, well, the thing was, it was so funny because we had this our tour manager. The one time we were there, this girl Carmen, she knew how to speak like 5 different languages. So I'm looking at the menu and I'm going, well, what can I get? And she points to this one and she reads it. She translates it for me, and it was some fancy noodle dish or something with cheese and this and that. And it sounded fancy, so I go, okay, I'll go with that. And this is before keto, and it comes and all it is mac and cheese. And they made it sound like some fancy dish, and it's just macaroni and cheese.
Then in the trash can it says you see the box that says Kraft, and
Well, actually, it was a little better than Kraft. But everybody else was like they had big meat on a bone, and it was like barbarians eating all this meat, and I missed out. But anyway, we're not going to that town this time, which is a bummer because I wanted to make up for the lost time.
oh well, maybe there'll be another time.
Yeah.
Talking about another time, let's talk about something we don't normally talk about on this show, which is we talk about diet and living a healthy lifestyle, and you hear Brian talk about he gets up in the morning, lifts weights, does his walk. But I wanted to touch base. One of the fastest growing sports in the world, especially here in the United States, is a sport called pickleball. And pickleball is like the combination of playing. Have you heard of it, Brian?
Never.
You need to Google it. So what it is basically, it was invented by a grandfather, I believe, but it's basically a scaled down version of a tennis court. It's about the size of well, not the size, but it's a little bit bigger than a ping pong table, but the rules are very similar to playing ping pong. And I got friends all over the country who have been just really calling me and blowing my phone up for the last year saying, man, you got to get involved in playing pickleball. You would love it. It's a great exercise. And I think the average age of a pickleball player from last year was 78 years old, was the average player of pickleball. And it's just now the age is 48. So in a year, it's come down to 48. No, 68 was the average age. It's dropped 20 years. So it's 48 right now is the average age, because young people are beginning to take on the sport, and they're finding it's a great sport for families with youngins versus the grandparents, and they can all play this sport together. And I've been wanting to learn how to play, but as Brian knows, I live in a rural part of Virginia. I mean, 795 people is our town population. But for me to go play the game, I'd have to drive all the way down to Fredericksburg to the YMCA, and they offer pickleball playing, but you got to join the YMCA, but it's only from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Well, for those of you who know me, that's way past my bedtime. 7 and 9, I'm going to sleep or preparing myself to go to sleep. So there's no way I'm going to go play a sport that's going to have the blood flowing and pumping where I'm not going to be falling asleep till midnight. But I just thought about, I want to play it. Well, this is the amazing part. So there's a nonprofit farm right here in our backyard, 10 minutes across the street, called Pickleball Farm, that one of the top pickleball players in the world has his own signature racket and equipment. And he created a nonprofit. He combined the sport of pickleball with farming and growing vegetables and raising pigs and turkeys and chickens. And I post some of these pictures over the weekend on my Facebook page. But literally it's 10 minutes from me. And so as a matter of fact, when we get done recording the show here, I'm heading over and meeting a couple of friends, and he's gonna start teaching us and mentoring us how to play the game so we can go play. So he's got his own private court, but he travels 2 or 3 weeks a month going around the country, playing tournaments and then, showcasing his equipment. And he also, I'm not going to steal his thunder, but I think I'm going to bring him on the show and just, let him share the sport with the audience. And it's a really cool way for you to be engaged with your family and friends, in a great sport that's going to get your blood flowing. And maybe you can start a league in your area. But I know in Virginia, they're converting a lot of the tennis courts into pickleball courts because you can fit 4 pickleball courts in 1 tennis court.
Huh.
And it's just an amazing sport. So for those who are not aware of it, go Google pickleball and you'll begin to see what the fastest growing sport in America is.
Wow.
So that's one tip. The other tip, if you made it all the way through this show, is what Brian's going to give you now is one way for you to be able to live a healthy lifestyle. So you want to share that, Brian?
Yes. Eat your meat. That's what I'll be doing in the month of January over in Europe. Well, I do it all the time.
You better stock up, Europe, because America's favorite carnivore is coming to devour your meat. So with that being said, thanks so much for tuning in with us tonight. We will see you guys next Friday. Stay safe, stay well, and stay out of the hospital.